So, Dr. Aparna is an Ayurvedic doctor, educated in India. And by the way, our topic tonight, if you want to make sure that you're in the right Zoom meeting, is the Ayurvedic uses of Florida native plants. And Dr. Aparna has over 2 decades of experience in practicing Ayurveda in India, Europe, and the US. Been very successful as a practitioner and an educator. 18 years in New York and teaching at many medical colleges and Ayurveda colleges across the US. Currently practicing in Florida, she's now here, yay, and established a Panchakarma Center, an education center for professionals so they can use Ayurveda as an adjunct therapy in their practice. She's also started Ayur Spirit, which is an herbal formulation company. She did that in 2006 to bring pure, natural Ayurvedic herbal products and herbs into the US that are made ethically and authentically. She's an author, written numerous articles, workshops, talks, TV shows in Europe, US, and North America to promote Ayurvedic awareness. And she's writing a book because she has so much spare time on Ayurveda mysteries, miracles, and triumphs. And she's leading our discussion tonight. She volunteered to do that. And she's also teaching at Sampurna College down in Miami Lakes in Southern Florida. And Sampurna, she's teaching, she has 16 students, and there are 8 students that volunteer to do extra work to assist her in the presentation. And we'll be introducing them. And then Sampurna, by the way, is a Sanskrit word meaning complete or whole. And we're very happy to welcome the students if they're not quite on yet, but there might be one in the waiting room. Hold on. I have to admit, I'm the admitting physician. I think I just admitted one more. But Nina also has been introduced to Dr. Aparna. And Nina, as you heard from Susan, is a botanist. She's also a Ayurveda practitioner, a botanist, and a traditional Chinese medicine teacher. She's a consulting botanist with Susan's firm and has she's focused on categorizing Florida's plants, and she gets into the details of identifying the plants, mapping the habitats, performing restoration in the wetlands, and surveying for rare plants. She's a massage therapist also, so maybe she massages the plants. I'm sure she does. And she's an ethnobotanist for a botanical advocacy company in Canada, where she also characterizes and reviews the entheogenic plants for potential present-day medicinal use. She writes plant profiles, their forms, their morphological description, their geographic distribution, their cultural history, chemical constituents, dosage, and toxicity. And her current focus is on local edible and medicinal plants. So she dovetailed very wonderfully into Dr. Aparna's presentation, and they have so much to talk about. And we always promise to stop at 7:30, that we're going to have to go into a part 2. We think. So we're going to dive into it. I think that Dr. Aparna, are you able to share your screen?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now.
Okay.
Share the screen.
And while you're doing that, Nina has also offered, she's in the Tallahassee area and has offered to do a nature walk.
Can you enable me to share the screen? It says host disabled.
Oh, I have to make you the host. Let me do that. I just made you the host. The hostess with the mostest.
I think, did you all get the, did
We
you
can
all get the screen, Florida
start.
native medicinal plants?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Kifi. Thank you, Anisha. Thank you, all the AF members, for attending this and giving me an opportunity. This was something I just, thought about in the last meeting when I presented, and I did not know what I'm getting into. So I've tried my best to keep it as minimum as possible, but it is just like it was getting so addictive. Like last month or so, I've been like completely consumed by this, and I thought I may find maybe like 20, 30 herbs, and there are like hundreds and hundreds. And after I spoke with Nina the other day, I came to know it's like probably thousands. So we have no clue how many plants that we can just find here that are medicinal, that have a cross reference with Ayurvedic herbs, and actually the same species. We may have a lot of herbs that can locally be grown and cultivated here. So it's going to be such a broad area of exploring and discussing, and really just like a very exciting process, I would say. So this is just the beginning, and I have just put together a few slides. The contribution to a few of the herbs is from my students at Sampurna. Luckily, I was teaching the class on herbology, Part 2, which is like the second year course, in January. And because this was being presented now, so I thought like, okay, let me give them an additional homework. And some of them were very enthusiastic. They not only gave me like one, but multiple herbs. And okay. So so this is like a culmination of effort from Sampurna students, some additions from Nina, some of my research on Google and different websites, and Ayurveda texts, and of course my husband helped me too. So it's like something interesting. I'm sure you would enjoy it. So in the first slide, as we see, like what is the meaning of native medicinal plants? That means thousands of years, we know that the local tribes, the local Native Americans were using for healing different herbs or different plants that were growing in the local habitat. And that is why we call these Florida native plants. I mean, some of them may have been now, they may not be here for thousands of years. They might have been migrated from some other place, because people came from different continents and probably got different things, like the Spanish and other people. They, whenever they came to this land, they might have brought some things. So that's how it all became native at some point. Then why do we want to know the crossover between the Ayurveda and the native plants? Is one thing I found that was very common is, of course, in ancient Vedic literature, we find all these references of all ancient people using plants and whatever grew in their habitat, from North India to South India. It's a very diverse habitat and vegetation, from Himalayan, tropical, coastal, or like desert, marshlands, all kinds of variations we see in the entire land of India. And when I see here in Florida, we also see so much of variation in the climate, in the land, in the geographical, diversity, that I felt that a lot of these things that can easily grow in India can definitely grow here. And as a part of, just having your own kitchen garden, or like everybody has a backyard. Most of us have at least a balcony where we can put some, pots to grow our own kitchen herbs. And then I came to know that, a lot of things that we are so used to growing and eating in India as food or as herbs, they're all very nicely growing here in Florida. So that was one of the things what made me think that a lot of herbs can be grown here locally in Florida, now that we are here we should try to make use of as much as data that we can collect to start cultivating these herbs, because a couple of things are very important. We should have to identify them and cultivate them. So I think Nina will have a great contribution in that aspect, that we need to identify the local herbs and figure out their species that are coinciding with the Ayurvedic herbs, and to identify them as the same plant species, and then how to cultivate them, what will be like a good climate weather condition in either northern Florida, southern Florida, central Florida, or the coastal areas where it can actually grow in the most natural way. Then we need to create awareness of the medicinal uses of these different herbs, because we will get them in the most fresh form, and as much as we can cultivate, we can get them abundantly for for our use, for home remedies, for simple ailments. Like nowadays, people are kind of changing towards this aspect, or this awareness, that instead of taking like a prescription medication or like just over the counter pills, people want to know if they can take something right from their garden. Like especially with COVID, we've seen a lot of people using simple garden herbs. I think in the last presentation, I gave a few recipes of different teas that you can make with holy basil, with ginger, with cardamom, black pepper, all these things that we can easily find in the kitchen. Lot of those we can even grow in our own backyards. So that awareness for using it for simple ailments, home remedies in fever, cough, cold, we can definitely do that. Then we can also use, if once we start cultivating and spreading this kind of awareness, we can use it for local manufacturing of Ayurvedic formulations and compounds. One big problem we had through this whole year of COVID times, you might have seen most of the websites, they were all out of stock of so many formulations. If you go to Banyan website, or even my website, or Himalaya website, or Kotakal USA, everybody was out of stock for several months. We could not get very simple hingashtak and simple formulations, that if we had some of the ingredients over here, if we develop over a period of next 10-15 years a method or a way to start making these formulations here locally, we could not have to face these kind of situations again. Then another thing is also, we have to make sure we save these species from being extinct. So again, Nina can contribute in that, because she will be able to identify and exactly tell the from the botanist perspective, like what are those endangered species, or what need to be really saved and cultivated for their medicinal use, and then stop all this adulteration or use of inferior or wrong substitutes, which is probably many times happens in India, happens in many places, where they do not know how to identify, how to cultivate, or how to really use the plants that are supposedly the right way of using the plants. So we can use all that knowledge and information. Then I have here a list of like about 60 herbs that that are either, a lot of them are actually local native. That's what I tried to shortlist through all the internet search that I did. And some of them may not be local, but they can easily grow. They have been easily growing in different regions of Florida. So this list is as long as you can imagine. It could be hundreds of them. I have just shortlisted 60, because I know we probably may not have time to cover all of them. But as many as I can. I have just written like one or two lines about each herb. So some of these you may find as you walk in the woods. If you go on any nature or nature trails, or just walk, you can find some of these herbs very easily. Once you know how to identify them, when you look at the pictures, you will be able to see them. So I did not put pictures of all these 60 herbs because of the time constraint, but the pictures of the herbs that my students have uh, did their presentation, that submission, that I do have those pictures. So I'll just quickly go over some of these herbs. So while pennyroyal, I have written also the botanical names, because what happens with the botanical names, it gets easier to identify. There could be several species of the same plant, but all of them may not have the medicinal qualities, or all of them may not be used in medicine. So we want to know exactly what is the medicinal species that we want to use. So these are the botanical names. It's easy to identify them that way. So one plant, so as I said, I may not go over each and every plant, but something that I came across recently, from actually it was told to me by one of my patient, the insulin plant. And I I knew about it, but I did not know that it grows all over in Florida. And then I researched on it, and it does grow everywhere, pretty much all. From all the way from north to south, it can grow pretty much everywhere. And it is used for like the leaves. You can make tea of the leaves, and anybody who is having diabetes, they can use this as a additional thing to their whatever prescription meds they're taking. Or if they have a very mild sugar, then they can just do exercise, diet control, and then just use this the tea with the sleeves. I find that this is really helpful for little kids, because it doesn't have a very strong or a bad taste or a smell. And with juvenile diabetes, with like a 5-year old or a 3-year old, it's very, very hard for those kind of parents to give them pills or to inject them with anything. So if this kind of herb is really helping, this is something that can easily grow in your backyard, in your balcony, in different pots. So this was something that really struck me. Then aloe, as we know, aloe vera, a lot of people may actually have it. Brahmi, I've seen many people have this. This is again very common Ayurvedic herb, and just grows in any marshy area wherever there is a little bit of water, or any place where there is a little moist soil. You can grow Brahmi very easily. It can also grow in your pots. Or so aloe and Brahmi, I'm sure everybody should actually have it. If you don't, they also look very pretty, so you can have them even as decorative plants, indoor plants too. uh, the galangal, if you have a room in your backyard, you can definitely plant that. It is kind of from the ginger family. So then cinnamon probably is a bigger plant, so you need to have much more space for that. Then I have some other plants mentioned here. Mango ginger. So we are all familiar with our regular ginger. We are also familiar with turmeric, which is also a rhizome. So these are all from the ginger family. And mango ginger you can also find as a fresh herb in the grocery stores, in the Indian grocery stores. And this is also very good to plant. So a few plants that you can actually grow in a small pot or in your garden, these are rhizomes. So they will, once you have a small segment, it will just keep on growing. And you can see so many multiple uses. It is very good for not only just digestion, but also skin diseases and inflammatory conditions. So this can be a part of your kitchen, like to eat it, cook with it. The elderberry, one of the student has written on it, so I'm going to go to that slide later. And Anantamul or sarsaparilla is, again, it grows here in Florida. It has been used very extensively in multi-hub formulas in Ayurveda, especially for skin related issues, which is very pitta pacifying as well, and blood cleansing. So Bala, which is also a very common herb. Anybody who has studied Ayurveda will know that Bala is a very rasayan or rejuvenative herb, and it's very, very commonly used, just like ashwagandha. Bala is very popular for a variety of diseases, and that can again very easily grow here. It has been used through generations in the by the native tribes. Then there is another herb called hairy pod cowpea, which is also very much used in Ayurveda. Then bamboo, we see bamboo as ornamental plant here, but bamboo has been used in Indian medicine and Chinese medicine, and also by the local tribes, the Native American tribes. Various uses have been explained, and in Ayurveda we use a specific extract of this bamboo, where the new nodes come. There is a little secretion, or like a resinous secretion that comes out, that is dried, and it's called tabakshir, and that is used in most of the formulas where you want to have or the formulas for cough, cold, bronchitis. One of the formulas is Sittopaladi churna or Sittopaladi powder, if you are familiar with. If you have studied Ayurveda or use any Ayurvedic herbs, then Sittopaladi powder is a very popular formula for bronchitis, pneumonia, and even all these COVID symptoms. So that is from the bamboo. Then jasmine, again, a lot of people have this as a decorative plant because of the flowers and the fragrance, but it is also very medicinal, and it is used also as a aphrodisiac. It is used in fevers. It is used in many different disorders. So you can actually see that so many things we can use right from our garden. Hibiscus, again, a lot of people may have these plants. Okay, I need to add. Then papaya, a lot of people may have papaya. It's, again, we know the medicinal uses, very good for digestion, and the leaves are very, very medicinal also. Papaya leaves have been used in ITP. ITP is where the platelet count is very depleted, and a lot of people with these blood disorders, they actually, I mean, it is sold also as a supplement, but fresh leaves, if you can just make a puree, like those leaves are quite rough, but if you can make a puree and just drink that, that is very medicinal. I have actually given it to quite a few patients who had this ITP condition, where the platelet count is very, very low, and it's autoimmune condition, so they may have to take this for a very long time. And papaya grows in most of the Florida regions. Everywhere you can see, it's almost like a wild plant. It's very easy to grow. Lemongrass, again, very easy to grow. In India, we use this even for making chai. Like when we make our regular chai tea, we also use lemongrass sometimes, just like ginger and cardamom, to flavor it. And it is very good to build up the digestive fire. The Rudraksha tree. Now, this you may not find it very common, but this can easily grow here. This is more commonly found in Hawaii. So we need a place where there's a lot of rain. So maybe more like southern part of Florida, or so you can grow these
Assistant.
plants. These are from the plum family, and as you know, the beads or the is very much used in spiritual practices, and also used in like making the beads, like the mala, the rosary beads of Rudraksha mala. And it is good for all cardiovascular activity. It is also good to just take a Rudraksha bead or a seed and put it in a copper container and leave that overnight with water in it. So a copper container with Rudraksha bead, pour hot water, leave it covered all night, and next day empty stomach in the morning, if you drink that water, that is very revitalizing. It helps for all the cardiovascular function. So if anybody has heart blockages, this can help.
No, no.
Then we have these. the palms, which are very again common to Florida, the cabbage palm, which is used in headaches, and all the native people used to use this in various inflammatory conditions. Saw palmetto, as we know, we can also find supplements in the health food stores. It is very common, again, a part of Florida vegetation, and it is used in prostate related issues, in even in prostate cancer. Then calendula. This is again from again very easy to find from aster family, I think, and you can see the calendula being used in Ayurvedic formulas. In I think even homeopathic formulas they use calendula in the form of ointment, or in just even the regular flowers and leaves. You can just crush them, boil them into tea, or the dried flowers and leaves are also sold for making tea. Then turmeric, we know everybody has it. If you're cooking, or even as supplements now, you can find in many health food stores. And this is like, this is called like the queen of herbs or queen of spices, because it has so many applications from head to toe, you name it. It's like used as anti-inflammatory, very good for hemostatic. If you have a cut, it is good for blood and lymph purification. It is good on Alzheimer's. So much research has been done on the use of turmeric for as an anti-cancer. It stops the angiogenesis, or development of blood vessels for the new growths or the neoplasms or the tumors. And it is also very good for beautification. It enhances the luster on the skin. It helps for all kinds of acne and other skin related pigmentation issues. Then we have the regular ginger that we use in cooking. Cardamom. These things can again easily grow here. They have been used also by the natives. Then the Brahmi and Gotu kola. A lot of people get confused with this. Both have been mentioned in Ayurveda. Brahmi is the Bacopa moneri, and the Gotu kola is Centennial asiatica. Both look very similar, except Brahmi has a the leaves are little smaller, and the gotu kola, you can find them more like little grooves on the surface. And gotu kola is more significantly used for skin related skin issues. Also, it has similar qualities that of the Brahmi, so you can use either, or it can be used as a good substitute if you can't find Brahmi. But luckily in Florida we can grow both of these very easily and abundantly. As I said, they just need moisture rich soil, and they can just grow as runners everywhere, all over the place. Okay, then we have red clover.
New pen.
See something. I don't know why this has come up. Anyway, so slippery elm, this is something that is again common. Many people might have already used it because this is available also as a supplement. Then the hummingbird blossom or buckbush, these are like these flowers. You may, as I said, I couldn't put all the pictures here, but you can Google those. Curry leaves, a lot of people might have used them or at least seen them in the Indian stores. These are very fragrant. They can easily grow in any part of Florida. A lot of Indian homes do have that, and they're very good for liver and for a lot of inflammatory issues. Of course, they are also a part of the food, so you can make, you can cook with it. Then sage again, easy to grow here. It is used also as a culinary thing. A lot of people might have use this already in many dishes. Then mint, several varieties of mint, but the digestive mint with like darker, more greener leaves, not the spearmint, but the peppermint. Those varieties are more commonly found, and they can also grow very easily. In fact, sometimes you get really annoyed with them. That's how much they can grow. That and ajwain, I've seen that it's like you don't know where to stop them. So mint, fresh mint, again, teas can be used. Cactus, lot of varieties grow here. The prickly pear is good for diabetes and for cholesterol and for the anti-inflammatory condition. Lavender, again, this can grow. Lavender is found. I mean, you can grow it, or you can even buy the dried version. um, then vinca is like a all year round perennial. You might have seen the white variety, which is more medicinal than the pink and other colors. If you go to the uh, you know any nursery, you may find various colors, but the white with the pink in the center, that periwinkle or that kind of vinca is much more medicinal, and there has been extensive research. It's actually used for treatment of cancer. So I don't know how to minimize this because I think, okay. So this vinca is it's called Sada Fuli or Sada Bahar, and you can see that it's very ornamental plant, but also very very medicinal. In India also you can find this everywhere. Uh, Honeysuckle, uh, this again can be used for many different medicinally for a lot of things. Ashwagandha, we can easily grow here. Ashwagandha is a very popular herb in Ayurveda. It's used in, again, so many places. It's just hard to ignore any disease with ashwagandha. Most of the multi-herb formulas will have ashwagandha. It's heating, so only certain ailments we may not use it, but most of the other ailments we can use ashwagandha because it's also adaptogenic. So all the way from thyroid to weight loss, weight gain, it's used in most of the vata conditions. It is used. It is very popular as a male reproductive system tonic also. Then mullein, which can be used for asthma, coughs. Licorice, we know it's again very famous for respiratory, and also I have used licorice in a lot of thyroid conditions. Um, then we have bearberry. This is again very much for UTIs. It can be used in a lot of inflammatory conditions. The devil's claw, if you have seen this, this can be also used in joint pains. Camphor. Now, camphor is a large tree. I saw a lot of information about camphor. They think that it's a nuisance, but Ayurvedically, it's a very medicinal plant. These are large trees, and I have actually seen a lot of them more towards the Orlando region. Actually, one of the areas where one of my friend has have their house near Winter Park and that area of Orlando, I have seen huge camphor trees, and you can actually smell the smell of the camphor is all over in the air, and it is considered to be a nuisance because they just grow and take over the local rest of whatever else grows there. So but the oil is very medicinal. We can use this for all kapha type of diseases, and most of the kapha formulas, because it's also diaphoretic, it opens up all the pathways and channels. It is used for worship. So in most of the Indian temples, or even in the private homes, the altars, they will have camphor that is burnt so that to purify the air and purify the atmosphere. So Sharpunkha or wild indigo. This is also a very common herb in Ayurveda, and here you can find that growing easily, used for a lot of immune system related problems. Then castor oil, castor plant, sorry. This is again very common. You can see that again growing very easily in any part of Florida. It doesn't really need any specific uh, soil or any specific condition. And uh, I mean, the leaves are also useful, but mostly the oil from the seeds. And if somebody accidentally uses certain parts of this plant, like the pods, it may actually have an adverse effect. It can cause some a poisonous effect. So you have to be very careful. And the oil is extracted from the seeds, and oil can be very strong if you don't take it properly. It can cause a lot of discomfort in the abdomen, but it is also a very strong purgative. And it is used in many external and internal, it has internal and external uses. Just a little beauty use, if somebody's interested, you can buy a castor oil small bottle from any pharmacy, and if you use a q-tip, dip it in the castor oil, and if you put it over your eyelashes and eyebrows, all the women here, you can try that. Do it for 6 months though, and you will see that it naturally helps to grow your eyelashes and grow your eyebrows if they're thinning. And that's one of the beauty things, that castor oil, we can use it. Tulsi. Now, tulsi is a holy basil that grows again very easily. This summer I had like hundreds of them just grow because the seeds kept on falling on the ground, and they kept on like making more plants, more tree, more little seedlings. So a lot of tulsi can be easily grown. And right now, like in my place where I'm living, we have really freezing temperatures at nights, such a few days, and even when I haven't covered, it's very resilient. Like they are just still bright and green and nice. So I guess usually cold bothers them, but it looks like these are good variety that they still survive. Marigold, or this, like there are many varieties of marigold, but the ones that are used in medicine, I've written the botanical name here. And those, you can use the flower, you can use the leaves, they can just be crushed and even used on wounds. In India, we used to just crush the leaves and flowers, and just you can use them for just any kind of infection. You can use it also. Then betel leaves or palm. This again can needs a little bit of moisture, so not in totally dry area, but it is a vine, it's a creeper, so it can grow on any other plant, or you can just make a little something with pipes. And this is very good in vitamin C, it's good source of calcium. You might have seen the beetle, the palm, people chew and spit out in the streets of India. This is the same palm, the beetle leaves, but lots and lots of medicinal qualities. We actually use it for making poultices. So if somebody has a abscess, or like a big bump on the skin, it's good for inflammation. It's very heating in nature, so it can be used for a lot of different reasons, for as an anti-inflammatory, for bruises, for ulcers, for boils, also for wounds, or also for ripening the acne, cystic acne, or any abscesses. Then the banyan tree, we can see this more again towards the southern part of Florida. Very useful in many different things. The banyan, those roots, the tender part of the root, and also the little resinous substance that comes out when the leaf is broken at the stem. Those were used in Ayurveda for inflammations. They were used for as douches. They were used for also for determining the sex, and also for changing the sex of the fetus. Now, this is again a little off off the chart topic to be discussed at some other time. But there are references about it. So just wanted to mention about that. And Durva, or the grass, durva grass, is a specific type of grass. The botanical name I have written here so that you can identify it. And this is very good again for so many different things. Like how they use the wheat grass, same way you can make the like the puree of durva grass, and that can be given for cancer patients. It can be given for different inflammatory and all pitta conditions, because this is very cooling, very good as an antioxidant. Moringa or shigru. Now, this is getting a lot of name and fame. You might have seen it in a lot of health food stores. This can be again easily grown in the warm climate, doesn't need any specific landscape. It can be anywhere as far as there is warmth, and tons of uses. You can use this even as a vegetable, like all the leaves. You can just pluck the leaves, chop them. They're very tiny, so you probably don't even need to chop, and you can just saute them and use as a vegetable. It can be used as poultices, as tea. The those beans, the moringa beans, they are used in different delicacies in Indian food. And you can even grow them all year round. You should have this blooming with those beans. And the banana again, I've seen a lot of people grow banana in their backyard. The specific medicinal one, we can use the sap of the banana. There are these internal white threads that are inside of the banana, uh, the long shaft of the leaf. So those are very medicinal, that can be used in female reproductive dysfunction like leukorrhea. It's very astringent and used in diabetes and ulcers, or in any kind of ailments where we need to stop the oozing. The mango, again, very common in southern part. I tried to grow mangoes. I hope they have survived. I'll know in spring if they spring back. But right now, because of the freezing, almost freezing temperature, it's a little hard over here. So more rain, warm, and southern Florida temperatures, you can grow mangoes easily. Mango leaves are very astringent, and they can be used as, again, as tea to treat diarrhea, dysentery. In lot of toothache or gum disease, you can actually just chew on the jasmine leaves, or guava leaves, or mango leaves. These are all home remedies described in Ayurveda. Neem again is a easy to grow plant. Again, mostly central and southern part of Florida. And this has tons of applications, very bitter, used for skin diseases, for fever, for definitely for diabetes, because of all bitter herbs are very good for liver and skin and blood purification. And neem is also used as a natural toothbrush. Neem stick. Lime, so the citrus fruits, I mean, again, a lot of variety, but the green lime, which is more tart, it can be used just lime water in the morning, empty stomach, can be used as anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, anti-cancer. It's very famous for weight loss. People can just cleanse their system by just taking that as the first drink instead of tea or coffee. This can be very cleansing and also very stimulating, because it builds up the agni also. Then ajwain, this is something I have had a ton of these ajwain plants. They just grow like a runner, and even one little leaf, if you prick it into the ground, it can just make a branch within no time. So the leaves themselves have very strong aroma, and if you press them, they're little, like almost like succulent, and you can see that it has a little oily feel to it, and you can eat them, you can boil them into a tea, you can cook with them. So I have seen some people make little fritters out of it. So it's like anything. Whenever they bloom and they have these little seeds, the ajwain seeds, they are very anti-flatulent, and you can use them in again many different ways. Then bitter melon, again, this is a creeper. This can be grown very easily over here. We can have a lot of bitter melon, like lot of fruits can grow, and these can be used for diabetes. Jackfruit. Jackfruit has a recent, lot of recognition nowadays because of its use as a meat substitute. You might have seen jackfruit, the Jackfruit Company, I think that's the name, and they are selling it all over the health food stores as a substitute for vegan people, as a meat substitute. And also jackfruit, raw jackfruit is used for it's a very favored vegetable for diabetic patients. You can actually buy the raw jackfruit flour. It's called jackfruit flour, and that can be added to your whatever you eat.
Just relax.
Sorry.
You know what? I'm not sure if everybody has muted their Zoom app. So if you haven't, this might be a good time too. We're at 7:30,
Yes.
Dr. Aparna, and I know that there's so much more to cover. I don't know if everybody's willing to stay for maybe 5 or 10 more minutes, and then we're going to definitely have a part 2, right? But whatever you think that you should.
I have a few more slides to go. If you guys are interested, I can just go over quickly, especially the ones from my students are the ones now. So if everybody is ready to wait for another 10-15 minutes, we should be able to wind up in that time.
Okay, and just to remind everybody, this we will be sending out the PowerPoint, and we'll put it on our website in the next day or two. So we'll make sure that everybody has access to this information. And when we're done, if Nina, if you could say just a few words of anything that you would like to comment on, that would be wonderful too.
Okay. So fenugreek, again, you can grow very easily if you have a small raised section. It just needs about 6 to 8 inches of root system to grow in, and you can grow this very easily anywhere in Florida. Cilantro, again, very easily you can grow. Just the seeds, you have to soak them, let them sprout, and put them in the soil, and within 2 to 3 weeks you can get a full grown plant of fenugreek and cilantro, which can be used as is, like the leaves, as food. So sharpunkha, Ayurvedic herb, this can grow anywhere, as it is also called a wasteland weed. So it's like literally growing everywhere. You must have seen this while walking in your neighborhood. And this has anti-inflammatory, anti-carcinogenic, antioxidant, and wound healing qualities. This is used in many multi-herb formulas in Ayurveda. Then the following are all the contributions by the students of Sampurna Ayurveda College. I've written their names. So this is by Evelyn Margot Gunter. She's written about this particular herb, Espinharia santa. And she has also tried to put the Ayurvedic Rasa, Rakta, Vipaka, and Prabhav. That's how we study the herbs in Ayurveda. So because these are students, they have not just written the external characteristics, but also the pharmaceutical actions based on Ayurveda. So Rasa means the taste. Virya means what kind of effect it does on the body. And Vipaka means what is the post-digestive effect. So it creates, what kind of an healing effect in the body, and then the action of it on the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So this one pacifies the pitta. And then the uses. So anything that pacifies the pitta, that means it will help to detox the liver and any kind of stomach issues, gastritis, ulcer, heat burn. So more like an antacid. Then the next one. This is also her contribution, Mulungu, and this is from Brazil, but it must have come here through people, traveling here. The bark is used for medicine, and it is sedative, insomnia, depression. So it's more like a nervine. This is by Elizabeth Kilner. She's written about the bitter melon. So I already told you that this is very good for diabetes, and we can use the this is the fruit. So this can be used as vegetable. And though it is very bitter in taste, if you try to cook it properly, it becomes edible. Then moringa, I told you about the moringa or the drumstick tree. It says there are 128 medicinal uses. Taste is pungent and energy is warming. So mostly used for all vata type of diseases, and it can be used for so many things here, vata balancing. Then we have wild pennyroyal. This is also a native Florida. You might have come across this many times in different gardens, and it is used for treating wounds, and also can be used in actual food to spice the food. Then we can have Chahana Taylor. This is the name of the student. She has written about elderberry, and this is good. This is cooling in Virya, but the taste is more complex, sour, sweet, and bitter. So they tried to put all the Ayurveda aspect into it, balances the three doshas, and it is sweet flavor balances the vata and pitta, the sour balances vata, and bitter balances pitta and kapha. So I tried to tell them to use whatever their Ayurvedic understanding is to analyze these herbs, and so this was her contribution. Then we have Mary Consor. She's written about Florida beautyberry, and this you must have again seen throughout summertime during your walks. This is called, in Sanskrit, it's called Priyangu. The rasa is sweet, bitter and astringent. Virya is cooling, Vipaka is sweet. So mostly this will be used in all kinds of diuretic and in detoxification. Then we have Sabrina Dora Lopez. She has written about passion flower, and this is native to southeastern Florida, Cherokee, all these tribes. They were using this for thousands of years to treat anxiety, depression, and this is also used in Ayurveda. This could also be used as a substitute for Brahmi. Then Saw Palmetto, we already talked about it, and she's written that this is also similar to the Prabhava of Gokshura for addressing enlargement of prostate. So if you don't find Gokshura, you can use this as a substitute. Then sea grape. This is again on the coastal beaches of Florida. You can find this, and the leaves were used to treat dysentery, asthma, and the native people of Florida use the fruit to make jams, jellies, like the avaleha preparation. In Ayurveda, we always make jam preparations like chaman prash. So this can be used to make some such preparation. Then Brian Perez, he wrote about Asclepias tuberosa, orange milkweed root. And this is found in Northeast and South Florida. It grows in sandy fields, and the root is used for medicinal purposes, and it is good for respiratory ailments, for lungs, for flu, for inflammation, antispasmodic. So lot of uses, and this again you might have seen if you walk around in the nature. Then this is submitted by Alexandra Acuna. Castor bean. I was telling you about the castor oil and castor plant. This is also called Palma Christi in some of the uh, by native people. It's like in the palm of the Christ, something like that. That is what I've heard. Then the next one is cranberry hibiscus. This is again commonly seen. A lot of people might have seen this as an ornamental plant in their garden, and this hibiscus is used in many different cultures. It is used this particular variety and the red one that is more like the original one. Those are used in gynecological diseases and also in for hair loss or many other applications. This is again very commonly seen. Biden's alba. There are a couple of varieties in this category, but these are very common. The whole plant can be used, so the flowers, they can also be, they're edible, they can be used also on the salads or something. And because of their use in upper respiratory and in fevers, this was again just like tulsi or a couple of other herbs. This was also a good as a prophylactic measure for during the COVID times. Then we have Rosa Lopez. She has written about comfrey plant. Comfrey plant was also mentioned in Sushruta's text for bones and joints. So this is very widely used in Ayurveda. The rasa is bitter, virya is heating, and the doshas it works on is it helps to balance the vata and kapha. What it does is it helps the resinous substance from this plant is used for joining the bones to any broken bone. It was like how we use the plaster of Paris now. They used to make that resinous substance, layer it with some leaves and just put the broken ends of the bone in place and just plaster it with that. And that is why it was also called knit bone. And this is how it looks. And the last one is arrow plant. You might have known it is also called arrowroot plant, and the starch or like the flour made from the tuber, the dried tuber, is used as a flour to make different dishes. It also has like a little congealing quality, so it is also used in soups, and it can be very cooling, and it can be used as a gluten-free flour, and the starch can also help in weight loss because it's gluten-free. So anybody having sensitivity to that can also use this to make pancakes or porridges or as a part of their soup. And it can be very binding, so good for treating diarrhea, especially with children and old people. So I think we are at the end of the slideshow.
That was fascinating. I wish we had 10 hours.
I mean, I really tried to curb my enthusiasm here. I did not write much. I just wanted, the students to participate. So I'm not sure how many of them are here right now.
I didn't see who was joining. So, but thank you so much. There were some comments in the chat that stated that they were very excited to get your PowerPoint, and that everybody just loved it. Those that made comments, so, and including myself. This was a lot of work. You have to be worn out a little bit from presenting this.
Well, no, I'm not worn out, but yeah, I mean, there's so much to talk about. I mean, this is
There is.
just the scratch on the surface. Like, there are so many more plants that we can literally grow here and that can thrive here very well. So I think we need to do something. In fact, I was thinking, like, we have a lot of trails here in my community, and every time I walk on that, like, all I see is oaks and, the Spanish moss hanging there and some pine and some other variety. And I'm like, I'm just going to buy a lot of these seeds or whatever I can get and just throw them as I'm walking around, especially in springtime. So the natural, whatever moisture in the soil, it will just grow them.
Well, fascinating. And Nina, I know that you have very little time, and like we thought that this would be a part two, and it might even be part 10, go all that way. Do you have any comments that you would like to make this evening before we close? And you need to probably unmute so that we can hear you.
There we go.
There we go.
I think I would like to. I don't know where the students are on their plant identification skills, but Dr. Bapat can let me know, and we could start maybe with that, talking about how do you learn about the plant families, some resources. I have lists of a few resources that I really like that are excellent. And some of them are even free courses online by donation. And there's a book or two that you can pick to buy. And I gave my evaluation of the books. I've already written up a sort of a sheet that anybody can have. I'll give it to Dr. Bapat. And then also talking about what books do you use to ID the plants? We call them flora or dichotomous keys. And then you're familiar with books that have lots of pictures of flowers, but a lot of flowers can look alike. And so it's important to really know how to use a dichotomous key. And they're very simple. It's just sort of like binary thinking. Is the plant red flowers or yellow flowers? Does it have, long leaves or short leaves? And they'll usually give a measurement. So all of these things you learn in elementary school, how to measure the leaves. And it's just a matter of becoming familiar with the terminology that the botanists use to identify the plant parts. And that will be in the references that I'll hand out. And also talking about rare plants. I noticed Zamia tegrifolia was mentioned, and I'll have to check on it, but I believe all of the Zamia species in Florida are listed as rare. When we talk about rare, that could mean they're endangered, which is the highest category of rarity, and you're not supposed to pick them. There's threatened, and also that's protected by the state laws. And then we have what we call vulnerable. Maybe they're being picked by people, and so the population is decreasing, and it's tending toward a threatened state. So there's rules that I don't know that I need to look up, but I know some states have rules about harvesting wild plants. So meanwhile, I'll work on that resource and find that out. But most of the Ayurvedic plants that I've seen on your slideshow, as well as other ones that I know here in Florida, they're not listed plants. So that's good. Let's see what else.
Yeah, and some
There is a book.
No, I was just going to mention
What
about
was that?
Florida foraging. That site is very informative if somebody wants to know more about plants. You told me about Andy.
Yeah, I'll be
And
right.
somebody
Andy
is also
Firk. I'll
trying to
have that on my list.
Yeah, and I saw also something called Ayurvedic. So somebody's trying to develop a whole database for all the plants that are Ayurveda that are in Ayurveda that can be growing here, and that's the ayurvaki.com. But it is like a developing database. So if we have some information,
Mm-hmm.
it would actually contribute to make that database functional, because right now it doesn't have much information. So we can make contributions to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is very good because they allow people to come in and comment on whether something somebody said is valid or not, and they're constantly, you know, making it more accurate. And that's good because sometimes we learn things most of the time from other people and maybe we never tried them ourselves. And that's what I love about Dr. Bapat's talk, or anybody that says, well, this is how you use it. You use this part and you make it this way. Then I'm all ears because I have so many herbal medicine books saying this is good for that and this for that. But I'm almost scared to touch it because, you know, things like ginger, I'm not, but things I haven't tried before, I'm like, oh, let's see, which part do we use? Is that book correct? But someone like Dr. Bapat, who's actually worked with it and had made the preparations and worked with her patients, then you have more confidence about starting to use it. So basically, I'll be handing out resources to your students so they can know where to go to find these books to help identify the plants correctly. And I'll be available anytime, as well as offer a few people I know online who will identify your plants for free. You just post a picture of them and then people make comments. And if
Oh,
another botanist disagrees, they just pop in and say, no, it's actually that. And then everybody's on the same page. So that's nice.
well, and if you'd like to share, Nina, thank you. If you'd like to share that information, you can send it to me and I'll post it on our Florida Ayurveda Association website for those that are not going,
Okay.
are not one of the students at Sampurna Ayurveda College. Denise O'Dunn is represented tonight, and she's representing the Florida Academy of Ayurveda. And Anisha is one of the teachers at Sai Ayurvedic College. So there's three that could benefit from that information, as well as all of us.
Okay, wonderful. I certainly benefited from all your information, and thank you.
Thank you very much. And we're thinking of March 1st as a possible part 2. So we'll be in touch with everybody and let you all know. And there were so many comments on the chat room. So it was well worth your time and your students' time. So please thank them for us. And Nina, thank you for joining us as well.